Welcome to the Liberated Feminine Podcast. I'm Lucy Lampy, your host, and in today's episode, I would like to invite you into the question, can you let it be good? What would happen if you let it be good? Now, a lot of us are out here, actively trying to manifest something in our lives, or expand in some way in our lives, while some part of our bodies, some deeply embedded habits in our nervous system, are waiting for the other shoe to drop. Now, this theme feels particularly big and alive right now with so many shifts happening in the collective energy. We've had a wild 2025 so far, and it ain't over yet, y'all. When it comes to the astrology transits and what's happening in your personal lives, in your personal charts, what's dying and being reborn in you, etc. So it seems like for the past 5 years in particular, since 2020 and everything that happened that year, it's been like an ongoing, seemingly never-ending soul excavation, deep shadow work, ego death, spiritual journeying into the underworld of your psyche and your fears and your deepest insecurities. And that is amazing. We needed that. However, that is not your personality. That is not your new mission in life. That is not your purpose. That is not the life that you came here to live, to just make healing your personality. So, what if you could just let it be good? What would that look like? What if, here's another question, the pursuit of being our higher self, our highest self, is actually keeping us from being present with the best self that we can be right now? To just be present, period. And a lot of what it feels like we are being invited into collectively is simply the noticing more of the love that is present in our lives. The peace, the joy, the ease, and not just to offset all of the chaos and pain and tragedy happening in the world, but to actually help to bring more healing to that through the awareness of and the embodiment of more love. Because when we get stuck and caught up in all the tragedy that we can't do anything about, we are only siphoning or allowing that to siphon our life force energy, our capacity to be of service in the ways that we can be, in the ways that can make a difference, however seemingly small. And this whole idea that this question that keeps coming up for me personally in my own life is, can you just let it be good? What if everything went well? What if it did work out? What if you did this thing and it did work out? What if the other shoe never drops? And I was just telling my partner earlier today how it took me several months to, in my body and my nervous system, really exhale and feel like, okay, there isn't some big curveball coming out of left field that the universe is like, another lesson, surprise, bitch. You thought that life was good. Okay, you thought you were in like a pleasant season of just easeful expansion. Nope, here's another lesson. Here's another karmic thing you got to look at. Here's another painful relationship lesson. And y'all, I got to say that in my marriage of almost 17 years prior to this relationship, there were so many of those moments, so many of those necessary, I will say, disruptions to help me to get to a point where I could stop outsourcing my peace, my well-being, my happiness to my circumstances or to my partner. And my nervous system began to learn to just expect that. Also, anyone with a lot of Scorpio placements, You're kind of always, ready for the next death and rebirth. Like, where is it? Where is it coming from? Is it going to be from my health, from my children, from my relationship, from my money? Like, where is it coming from? Because I know it's coming. And the thing about that is, when you live your life in a state of bracing, a state of contraction, it's really challenging to truly allow our vessel, or the vessel that we are, to be expanded with love instead of constricted with fear. And I know everyone is here on their own timing, in their own journey, doing things in their own perfectly divinely orchestrated way. And there is this piece about unraveling suffering from earning your pleasure. There's this piece about challenging the belief in us that more suffering makes us more worthy of a good life. Challenging the belief that you have to earn your happiness, that you have to prove to the universe, to God, or to yourself that you are worthy of the things that your heart most deeply desires. And while, yes, we are all here to learn our lessons and expand beyond the wounds that we have carried into this life on the soul level, I dare say that there is an access point or multiple access points that we each have to more easeful expansion. And now, because I am no less Scorpio energy than I was 5 years ago, when I was really deep, actually 7 years ago at this point, like that 7-8 years ago, when I was really deep in the initial shadow work and just getting to know the nitty gritty within relationship, especially because that was around the time that my then husband started to do all of this inner work. And then there was a lot of clashing, a lot of friction, a lot of trying to coach each other, a lot of trying to fix each other. And it was in that time that it was just going to be messy. There are periods of expansion that are just going to be messy, and that is okay. Just know that it's also okay when there comes a time that you get to declare to the universe, all right, I am ready and I am available for more easeful expansion, for more peaceful growth. I am also willing to go into that underworld, to descend, to anchor in those roots even deeper, whenever necessary. And I give myself permission to come up for air. I give myself permission to extend my branches, to dance, to feel good, to feel the lightness. There's a levity and there's a gravity. This was a concept that was discussed in a recent virtual retreat. Someone brought this up that said, yeah, the levity and the gravity, and that really resonated because it's not all meant to be so heavy. What if you could let it be just a little bit more good, a little bit of the time, and then your nervous system gets used to that? Because it is an adjustment. It is a physical recalibration. When you have been used to your spiritual expansion, your personal growth, your relationship growth, looking a certain way or requiring a certain level of chaos and messiness, and then learning to embrace the mess and not judge the mess, but actually lean into the mess. But the thing we got to watch out for is identifying with the chaos and making it almost a requirement to ourselves to have to suffer, to have to go through chaos in order to have a breakthrough or in order to expand in some way in our lives. And right now, with the shifts happening into so much Aries from Pisces, we're going to feel it. We're going to feel it. And that fieriness, let that be channeled in a way that purifies the fears, that helps to dissolve and melt away the resistances that you have to feeling good. And by good, everyone can define this differently, but by good for me, I mean at ease, at peace. Like you can just not have to hold it in and just constrict all the time. Bracing for impact. To be able to flow with life. And when, not if, but when challenges do come up, you're able to masterfully go into those depths. You're able to masterfully alchemize whatever life presents to you as the curriculum of this current season of your life. You're able to do all of that because you have become masterful at that. You have been practicing that. Life has been refining your skills in that. And now you're able to work on the mastery of just receiving, allowing. Not just receiving and allowing the manifestations, but also the flow of love that is meant to come through you to your relationships, to your kids, to your family, to your lover, to your projects, to the service that you're doing in the world, the work that you're doing in the world. Being a willing and open vessel to that source of love itself, however it is meant to flow through you at that time in that context. And then also being willing to receive the ideas, the messages, the downloads, the inspirations that are designed to be brought into the world through you, as if it were a sacred duty. That this is your sacred task. Are you receptive to that? And not getting caught up in this sense of entitlement that just because I am doing the thing that the universe, spirit, my guides, my higher self is inviting me to do, now I am entitled to being compensated through this amount of money or this many followers or this much achievement. That is just a byproduct. It's like, it's kind of like if we were to make virality the goal, like having a viral piece of content. If that were the goal, the vibe would be completely different because you're chasing the viral moment instead of being open to the viral moment and letting that support and be like wind beneath the wings of your vision, your mission, your purpose, the bigger why of what you're doing. And this is the same thing with the easefulness. It's not that you're chasing the ease, you're not chasing the pleasure. You're allowing that ease and that pleasure and that peaceful way of being to make it even easier, even more impactful, the work that you're doing in the world, so that you don't have to push against so much resistance. So this week, I challenge you with that question. What if you could just let it be good? Or just a little bit more easeful? And maybe even simply, literally declaring to the universe, I am open to more easeful, peaceful expansion. I'm willing to do whatever is required. You know this. But I am making myself available for growth in this way. More, please. Show me how good it gets. I am open to magic and miracles. Show me how good it gets. All right, thanks for tuning into this episode, and until next time, here's to liberating your wild feminine heart.
little porn star, you bring the boom, I bring the bass. Give me a taste, lay me to waste. I'm your little plaything. I got to feel